Well, hello, St Martin's, Walsall. My name's Paul Hellier, and I'm a retired general dental practitioner speaking to you from the rather gloomy Sussex coast today. And I've been asked to talk to you a little bit about Mercy Ships this morning. Towards the end of my career, I was able to volunteer with Mercy Ships in Liberia and Sierra Leone as a dentist, and I now go around speaking for them in the local area in normal times. But lovely to speak to you in Walsall this morning. Mercy Ships is a global Christian organisation, but as the name suggests, operates a ship or ships. And it's a hospital ship. This is our current ship, the African Mercy, the largest non-governmental hospital ship in the world. We were founded 40 years ago, and they've been working throughout the world, providing hope and healing to some of the world's poorest countries over that time. Why a hospital ship? Well, we hear a lot about people dying from AIDS and HIV and TB and malaria, but actually nearly a third of the causes of death in the world are due to lack of access to safe, affordable and timely surgery. And that's one of the problems that Mercy Ships tries to address. 93% of people in sub-Saharan Africa cannot access the healthcare they need, and Mercy Ships brings that to them. We partner with the nations that we work with. The ship will arrive at a port in the country that's been designated for the year, stay there for about 10 months, and leave behind a legacy of healing for the people that they operate on, that they carry out surgical procedures on, and they leave a legacy of improved healthcare by mentoring and training up local health professionals. So we're going to hear a little bit about that. You're going to see some of the people that the ship, the crew on the ship have helped. So why a ship? Well, everything comes on the ship, basically. Don't rely on anything from the country itself except a dockside. And 50% of the world's population live within 100 miles of a port city. So it provides access to a lot of people. When the ship arrives, there will quite often be a screening day, and people will hear about this through the local radio or posters, and patients will be selected for treatment and given appointments to come back at various times over the following 10 months of the ship's stay. So these are the sorts of surgeries that the ship is equipped to carry out. And you can read all the different types of surgery there. Obviously, I was concerned with the dental part of it. So you're going to see some people now who have been helped. You'll see some fairly large tumours, the sort of tumours we don't see in this country, because people don't have access to surgery when the tumours are quite small. So this is Sambani. I'll show you the after picture so that you're not too in despair for the poor guy. He was in Madagascar, lying on his bed in this village, thinking that he was going to die, but he heard about the ship. His friends carried him to a bus route, and he got to the ship and was taken on board. He was told there was limited chance of survival, but he was on the operating table for more than 12 hours. He received 15 pints of blood, and as you can see, he made a remarkable recovery from his surgery, and is now back in his village, living a normal life. This is Junior, cleft lip and palate. Children quite often don't survive because they can't feed properly. Junior, when he was brought to the ship, was less than his birth weight. He was given a feeding mouthpiece they designed for him to feed him up to make him strong enough for surgery. And here you can see him after his surgery, a real bonny bouncing baby. This is Gamai in Guinea. If you cook over charcoal stoves, children will often trip over them. They will burn, and the scarring from the burns will contract and cause quite severe movement limitations. And in Gamai's case, those contractures were released with some physiotherapy and occupational therapy she was able to return to school and a normal life. Mourinho, orthopedic patient with bow legs, and again, correction managed to get him back walking properly as well. I think when you look at these before and after pictures, the amazing thing to me is always the smile, not necessarily the skill of the surgeon. This is Adama. She had twins. It's fairly soon after she began to lose her sight. She never saw her twins properly. She was taken onto the ship and her cataracts were removed, and she could see her babies. General surgery, that's hernias, things like that. There's no pictures of those. Fistula is obstetric fistula as a result of traumatic birth for some very young girls. There's no midwives, or very few midwives, very few very little antenatal care in a lot of these countries, and sometimes through the traumas of birth, mum can be left incontinent through that fistula, and again a fairly simple surgical procedure, and the ladies can go back to their villages clean and continent. Dental clinic always operates off the ship in a sort of multi-chaired clinic, and we would see queues of people waiting outside every morning, and we would see about 100 patients a day, basically taking teeth out and relieving pain. In Liberia, when I was there were 3 dentists for 3 million people, so you can see there will be a huge demand for free treatment. Just remember, everything is provided free of charge. And palliative care, there will be some tumours which are malignant or beyond repair, beyond surgery, and there's a palliative care team which will go into the community, helping people with end-of-life care, pain control, and training up nurses to go in after the ship has gone. But that's the surgery side of the ship, but they're also doing capacity building, so they're training local professionals, providing tools and resources, equipment that is appropriate for the country that they're going to, and they're building better medical facilities. So some examples of those. In Guinea, when the ship was there a few years ago, they treated about 300 children with clefts. When they returned a couple of years ago, they were expecting to see the same number, but in fact on the screening day they only saw 3, and that's because at their previous visit they'd trained up local surgeons, and the local surgeons had been treating the backlog with confidence following the training they've received from the Mercy Ship surgeons the year before. This is an operating theatre that they found in Madagascar. I'm not sure if you needed surgery whether you'd actually volunteer to go and be treated in there, but this is what they left behind: clean, sterile environment with equipment that's appropriate for the resources that they have in the country. There's the before and after pictures. So the ship has 5 operating theatres, 82 ward beds, and all the things that you'd see in your local hospital are basically there: radiology, laboratory, pharmacy. There's 450 people on the ship, all are volunteers. About 1,300 people pass through the ship annually from many different nations, and only half of the jobs are done by volunteers on that ship are medical. The rest are support staff. So the medical crew is obviously nurses, surgeons, dentists, all the things that you'd expect, but the non-medical, you have a full ship's crew: plumbers, electricians, human resources, you've got hospitality, you've got 1,300 people wanting a nice clean bed and cabin to sleep in. There's a chaplaincy team, and people to clean the tables in the dining room, and people to cook. So lots of non-medical opportunities to volunteer. In Senegal, when she was there, just before the impact of COVID, the volunteers performed nearly 1,500 surgeries, 5,500 dental patients treated, 535 ophthalmic surgeries, and over 1,000 local healthcare professionals were trained. So you can see the impact in those. They wasn't actually there for 10 months because of COVID, but you can see the impact that one visit will have to the individuals and to the infrastructure of the country. When they had to leave, they left behind donated to the country lots of PPE. You remember the crisis of PPE in this country, that's far worse in Africa. So they left a lot of, as much as they could, behind to provide resources for the country. There's always a demand for volunteers. These are the current ones that needed, but you can look on the website and see what other opportunities there are. And the really exciting news is that this year, Mercy Ships hopes to bring into service the Global Mercy. So they've commissioned her a few years ago. She's been built and commissioned in the Philippines, equipped in the Philippines. We will have 2 ships operating at the same time. There's 6 operating rooms, 102 acute beds, ICU isolation beds, and lots of teaching space. So there'll be a 682-seat auditorium, student academy, gymnasium, pool, cafe, shop, library, training tools, including simulated post-op care space to simulate local conditions. And it's quite an exciting opportunity to know that the Mercy Ships has the confidence to commission a second ship at this time. So this is the actual ship. The other previous picture was a computer-generated one, almost ready for commissioning at this time. So thank you so much for listening. That's been a very brief overview of the work of Mercy Ships. If you want some more information, then there's the website address is there, mercyships.org.uk, and there you can sign up to receive a quarterly newsletter with some of the patient stories in a bit more depth. You can sign up to donate, and you can also sign up to volunteer. And many of the groups I talk to, necessarily older people, and they all laugh when I suggest that they might volunteer. I was over 60 when I first went. But you may have, so age is not necessarily a criteria for not going, but you may have children or grandchildren who would benefit from a gap year there, all sorts of opportunities to go. So please think about talking up Mercy Ships to young people who you think who might be interested. So thank you so much for listening to me. Reverend Jenny has my email address, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask her to ask me. And it's been lovely talking to you, and God bless you as you go into your week.